They paid for her college, her wedding, her car. They never gave me $1. Now they want my house too. Posted to r/am ith asshole. I, 32M, never thought I'd be posting here, but I genuinely need outside perspective because my entire family is telling me I'm a monster, and I'm starting to question my own sanity. This is going to be long. I apologize in advance. The call. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from my mother on a Tuesday evening. I was just getting home from work, still in my car in the driveway of my house, the house I saved for over a decade to buy, when her name popped up on my screen. "We need to talk about the house situation," she said without even saying hello. I assumed she meant helping my sister find an apartment. See, my sister, 34F, recently went through a brutal divorce. Her ex-husband left her with 2 kids, 7F and 5M, a mountain of debt, and nowhere to go. She'd been staying with my parents for the past 4 months, and I knew it was getting crowded. "Sure, Mom," I said. "I can help her look at some listings this weekend. There are some decent apartments in the area that—" "No," she cut me off. "I mean your house. We've talked about it, and you need to sign it over to your sister." I actually laughed. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "She has 2 kids," my mother continued, her voice taking on that familiar tone, the one she uses when she's already decided something and considers any disagreement an act of war. "She needs it more than you. You're single. You can rent somewhere." I sat in my car for what felt like an hour after that call, staring at my house through the windshield. The house I'd worked 60-hour weeks for 10 years to buy. The house I'd sacrificed vacations, relationships, and my 20s to afford. The house that represented everything I'd built from nothing. And my mother wanted me to just give it away. The backstory. I need to give you some context here, because this didn't come out of nowhere. This is the culmination of 32 years of being the family's afterthought. I was always the responsible one. The one who got a job at 16 because I wanted spending money and my parents said they couldn't afford to give me an allowance. The one who worked through high school while my sister did extracurriculars and went on trips with her friends. The one who was told, at 18, that my parents just couldn't afford to help with my college education. So I worked. I took out loans. I went to community college for 2 years, then transferred to a state school. I worked 30 hours a week while taking a full course load. I graduated with $40,000 in debt, but I graduated. My sister, she went to a private university. My parents paid for all 4 years. They said they'd saved up for her education. When I pointed out that they'd told me they couldn't afford to help me just 2 years earlier, my mother said, "That was different. Your sister isn't as independent as you. She needed the help." I let it go. I was busy building my life. After college, my sister got engaged to a man my parents adored. Charming, good-looking, great job in sales. Everyone loved him. I didn't. I saw how he spent money like water, how he always had the newest everything, how he talked about investments that never materialized. I warned my parents once. Just once. "You're jealous," my father said. "Your sister found a good man, and you can't handle it." I let it go. They paid for the wedding. $30,000. A destination wedding in Mexico that I had to pay my own way to attend. I sat at a table in the back and watched my parents beam with pride at their daughter, their golden child, their favorite. They bought her a car as a wedding gift. A brand new SUV. For the grandkids, they said, even though she wasn't pregnant yet. I let it go. I was busy working. The house. While my sister was living her fairy tale life, I was building something real. I lived in cheap apartments. I'm talking studios with radiators that clanked all night, neighbors who screamed at 3 a.m., landlords who took weeks to fix anything. I drove the same car for 11 years, a 2006 Honda Civic that I bought used and maintained religiously. I didn't take vacations. I didn't buy nice clothes. I didn't go out to expensive dinners. I worked. I saved. I invested. I watched my account grow, dollar by painful dollar. My friends were getting married, buying houses, having kids. I was eating ramen and putting another $500 into my savings account. My mother asked me once why I didn't have a girlfriend. I told her I didn't have time. She said I was too focused on money and that I'd die alone. Maybe she was right about the alone part. But I had a plan. 2 years ago, I finally did it. I bought my house. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, nice neighborhood, good schools nearby, even though I didn't need them, a backyard with a deck. $350,000. I put down 20%, $70,000, from my own savings. No help. No gifts. No inheritance. Just me. The day I signed the papers was the proudest moment of my life. I stood in the empty living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, and I cried. I actually cried. Because I'd done it. Despite everything, I'd done it. I sent pictures to my parents. My mother said, "That's nice. Kind of big for one person though, isn't it?" I let it go. The sisters fall. I won't pretend I didn't see it coming. 6 years into the marriage, the fairy tale collapsed. My sister's husband, the one everyone loved, the one I was jealous of, turned out to be exactly what I'd warned them about. He'd been hiding debt. Credit cards maxed out. Business ventures that were actually gambling losses. A second phone with messages to other women. He left her. Just walked out one day and never came back. Filed for divorce and claimed he had no assets because everything was either in her name or underwater. She got the kids. She also got the debt. She moved back in with my parents. I felt genuinely sorry for her. I did. No one deserves what happened to her, and those kids definitely didn't deserve to have their father abandon them. I offered to help. I said I'd contribute to a fund for an apartment deposit. I said I'd help her update her resume, since she'd been a stay-at-home mom for years. I said I'd babysit when she had interviews. My parents said that wasn't necessary. They'd handle it. 4 months later, I got that call. The demand. Let me be crystal clear about something. My parents didn't ask me for anything. They told me what was going to happen. "Your sister needs a real home for those kids," my mother said during a follow-up call, this time with my father on speaker. "Our house is too small. There's only 3 bedrooms here, and she needs privacy, and the kids need space to play." "I understand," I said, trying to stay calm. "That's what I offered to help with." "You have 3 bedrooms," my father interrupted. "You're one person. It doesn't make sense. It's my house. And she's your family." "Family helps family," my mother chimed in. "That's what we taught you." I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask where that lesson was when I was working doubles to pay for textbooks. I wanted to ask why "family helps family" didn't apply when I was eating peanut butter sandwiches for a week straight because I couldn't afford groceries. I wanted to ask why they'd given her everything and expected me to build myself from nothing. Instead, I just said, "I'm not giving her my house." The silence that followed was deafening. "We already told her she could move in next month," my mother finally said, her voice cold. "She's already started packing." I felt like I'd been punched. They'd promised her my house without even asking me. Like I don't exist. Like my life doesn't matter. Like everything I'd built was just a placeholder until their real child needed it. "Then you need to untell her," I said. "Because it's not happening." The guilt trip. What followed was the most intense pressure campaign I've ever experienced. My mother called me daily. Sometimes twice. She alternated between crying and screaming. I was selfish. I was greedy. I never cared about family. I'd always been cold, and only cared about money. She reminded me of every time she'd ever done anything nice for me, which honestly wasn't a long list, and demanded to know how I could repay her like this. My father took a different approach. Cold disappointment. I never thought I'd raise a son who'd turn his back on his own sister. "Those are your niece and nephew. You'd let them be homeless. When I'm gone, you'll regret this." Then my sister called. She was crying. Deep, heaving sobs that made it hard to understand her words. "How can you do this to me?" she said. "How can you punish my kids for my mistakes? They're innocent. They didn't ask for any of this. And you're sitting in your big house alone while they're crammed into mom and dad's guest room." She called me selfish. She called me cruel. She asked if I'd ever loved her at all. I tried to explain. I tried to say that I'd worked 60-hour weeks for 10 years to buy this house. That I'd saved for a decade while she was going on vacations and driving a new car and having a wedding in Mexico. That I'd sacrificed everything to build something for myself. That I'd earned this. "I didn't ask for a divorce," she said. "I didn't ask for any of this. You're punishing me for things I couldn't control." I asked her if she'd ever considered that I hadn't asked for any of what happened to me either. I hadn't asked to be the child who got nothing while she got everything. I hadn't asked to pay my own way through college while our parents paid for hers. I hadn't asked to be treated like the family ATM whenever someone needed help. She said that was different. She said I'd always been good at money stuff, and she'd always struggled. She said our parents helped her because she needed it, and they didn't help me because I obviously didn't need it. I hung up. Update 1. The family chat. The family group chat turned into a war zone. I have aunts, uncles, and cousins I barely see coming out of the woodwork to tell me what a terrible person I am. Most of them had gotten a very specific version of the story, the version where my poor sister is destitute and homeless and I'm sitting on an empty mansion refusing to help. Family is everything, my aunt wrote. I can't believe you'd choose a building over your sister. Those kids need stability, my uncle added. You can always buy another house. You're single anyway, my cousin commented. What do you even need all that space for? I tried to explain my side. I really did. I wrote a long message explaining that I'd offered to help in other ways. That I'd offered money for an apartment. That I'd offered to help her find a job. That I'd offered to babysit. That I wasn't refusing to help, I was refusing to give away everything I'd worked my entire life to achieve. My mother responded with one line, "We gave you everything growing up, and this is how you repay us." I stared at that message for a long time. They gave me everything. They paid for my sister's college and told me they couldn't afford to help me. They paid for her wedding and asked me to contribute to the gift. They bought her a car and told me I was too focused on money. They gave her everything and gave me lessons about how to survive on nothing. And now they wanted the one thing I'd built for myself. I left the group chat. Update 2. Standing my ground. 2 weeks ago, I met with my parents in person. They'd requested a family meeting to discuss this like adults. I agreed, against my better judgment. We sat in their living room, the same living room where I'd watched them hand my sister the keys to her new car, the same living room where I'd been told they couldn't afford to help with my education. "We've thought about this," my father started, "and we understand you're upset. But you need to look at the bigger picture." "The bigger picture," I repeated. "Your sister has children. She needs a stable environment. You're single, you can recover from this. You can rent for a few years, save up again, buy another place eventually. She doesn't have that option." "She has plenty of options," I said. "She can rent an apartment. She can find a job. I've offered to help with both." "That's not good enough," my mother said. "Those kids deserve a real home. A house. They deserve what you have." "Then you give them your house," I said. The silence was lethal. "We're not going to be homeless for your sister," my mother said, her voice rising. "This is our home. We've lived here for 30 years. And my home is my home," I said. "I've lived there for 2 years. I plan to live there for 30 more. You don't have kids. You don't need the space. I'm single because I was busy working and saving while everyone else was living their lives," I said. "I'm single because I spent my 20s building something instead of finding someone. And now you're using that as an argument for why I don't deserve to keep what I built." They didn't have an answer for that. My mother tried a different approach. She started crying. "After everything we've done for you," she sobbed. "After all the sacrifices we made." "What sacrifices?" I asked. "Name one. Name one thing you sacrificed for me." She couldn't. "I can name plenty of things you did for her," I continued. "College, wedding, car. But for me, I got nothing. I got told to figure it out myself. And I did. I figured it out. And now you want to take that away." "This isn't about taking anything," my father said. "This is about family helping family. Then help her yourself. Sell this house. Downsize. Give her the proceeds for a down payment." They looked at me like I'd suggested they commit a crime. That's not reasonable," my mother sputtered. "But asking me to give away my house is—" More silence. "If you don't do this," my father said slowly, "we're done. You won't be part of this family anymore." I looked at them, really looked at them, and I realized something that broke my heart. "You already treated me like I don't matter," I said quietly. "You gave her everything and expected me to build myself from nothing. I did. This house is proof. And now you want to take that too." I stood up. "No. I won't set myself on fire to keep her warm." I walked out. Update 3. The reasonable alternative. I didn't want to abandon my sister completely. Despite everything, I do love her. She's been conditioned her whole life to believe she deserves more, and I can't entirely blame her for acting according to that programming. So I called her a week after the meeting with our parents. I offered a compromise. "I'm not giving you my house," I said. "That's not going to change. But I will help you." "Help me how?" Her voice was guarded, suspicious. "I'll pay first and last month's rent on an apartment. Something decent, not a studio, something with enough room for you and the kids. I'll help you find a job. My company is actually hiring in admin right now, and I can put in a word. And I'll babysit whenever you need me to, interviews, work emergencies, whatever. I want to help you get back on your feet, but I'm not going to destroy my own life to do it." There was a long pause. "That's not enough," she finally said. "I deserve the house. Those kids deserve the house." "Why?" Because you have it and I don't." "I have it because I worked for it," I said. "I saved for 10 years. I made sacrifices. I earned it. You always had it easier than me." I almost laughed. "Easier? Our parents paid for your entire life. I paid for my own. That's because you were always better at that stuff. I needed help. And now you need help again. And I'm offering it. But there's a difference between helping and giving you everything I have." She hung up on me. 2 days later, I got a text from my mother. "Your sister told us about your offer. It's insulting. She deserves the house. Until you come to your senses, don't bother calling." Update 4. Going low contact. It's been 6 months since that conversation. In that time, I've spoken to my parents exactly 3 times, all brief and uncomfortable. They still believe I'm the villain in this story. My father told me last month that he's never been more disappointed in me. My mother told me she doesn't know where she went wrong raising me. I stopped trying to defend myself. There's no point. In their minds, I'll always be the selfish son who refused to help his sister. The fact that I offered substantial help, financial assistance, job connections, free childcare, doesn't matter. The only acceptable outcome was complete self-sacrifice, and anything less makes me a monster. But something interesting happened about 3 months ago. My sister called me. I almost didn't answer. I'd gotten used to every call from family being an attack, but something made me pick up. "I got a job," she said. "I waited for the catch. The guilt trip. The demand. It's an administrative position at a real estate company," she continued. "It's not much, but it's full-time, and they have good benefits." That's great," I said, genuinely surprised. "I'm happy for you. I also found an apartment. It's not big, 2 bedrooms, the kids have to share, but it's in a decent school district. I signed the lease last week." "That's amazing. Do you need help with?" "I used the money you sent." I hadn't sent money. I'd offered to pay first and last month's rent, but after she rejected my compromise, I assumed she didn't want my help. "The check you sent after we talked," she said. "For the apartment. First and last month. I wasn't going to use it, but things got really hard. Mom and Dad were driving me crazy, and I needed to get out. I had sent that check. I'd mailed it 2 days after our conversation, along with a note that just said, 'The offer still stands.' I'd never heard back, so I assumed she'd torn it up. 'Thank you,' she said quietly, 'for not giving up on me, even when I was being.' It's okay. It's not. I was awful to you. I've been awful to you our whole lives. I didn't see it. I thought the way things were was normal. But living with Mom and Dad again, seeing how they talk about you, how they expect everything to just be handed to me, I started to realize that maybe you weren't the problem." I didn't know what to say. "I'm not saying everything is fixed," she continued. "I'm not saying I don't still wish things were different. But I'm starting to understand that you didn't owe me your house. You don't owe me anything, really. And the fact that you still helped me, even after everything I said." She started crying. "You're my brother. And I'm sorry it took me this long to act like you're my brother too." Update 5. Where things stand. It's been 6 months total now. Here's where things stand. My parents still aren't speaking to me. I called them on Christmas. My mother answered, said, "I hope you're proud of yourself," and hung up. I haven't tried again. I send cards for birthdays and holidays. They don't respond. I'm at peace with this. I've had to be. I spent years trying to earn their love and approval, and I finally realized it was never a winnable game. In their eyes, my sister will always come first. My accomplishments will always be dismissed as, "Well, you didn't need our help anyway." My sacrifices will always be invisible. My sister and I are rebuilding our relationship. It's slow. It's awkward sometimes. There are 30-plus years of baggage to work through, and we're both still figuring out how to relate to each other as adults who are actually equal. But she's trying. She invites me to her kids' school events. She asked for my advice on her budget last month, actually asked, and actually listened. She told the kids that Uncle's house is his special place that he worked really hard for, which made me tear up a little when my nephew repeated it. She's still struggling financially, but she's doing it on her own. She sold the SUV our parents bought her and bought a cheaper used car. She's taken on extra hours at work. She's building something for herself, maybe for the first time in her life. I'm proud of her. As for me, I'm still in my house. My beautiful, hard-earned house. I've started making it more of a home. I finally bought real furniture instead of the hand-me-downs and thrift store finds I'd been using. I painted the master bedroom. I built a fire pit in the backyard. Last month, I hosted my first dinner party. Just a few friends, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I even started dating again. There's someone I've been seeing for about 2 months now. It's new, but it's good. She came over for dinner last week, and as I gave her the tour, she said, "You must be so proud of this place." I am. I really am. Final thoughts. I've thought a lot about what happened. About whether I made the right choice. About whether I am, in fact, the selfish monster my parents believe me to be. They wanted me to sacrifice my future for my sister's present. They wanted me to give away 10 years of work, a decade of sacrifice, the single biggest achievement of my life, just hand it over because someone else needed it more. And when I refused, they called me every name they could think of. They tried to guilt me, threaten me, and manipulate me into compliance. When that didn't work, they cut me off. But here's what I've realized, I was always going to lose. If I'd given my sister the house, I would have lost everything I'd built. And in the end, they still wouldn't have respected me. They would have expected the next sacrifice, and the next, and the next. There would always be something else their golden child needed, and I would always be expected to provide it. By saying no, I lost my relationship with my parents. That hurts. It probably always will. But I kept my house. I kept my self-respect. I kept my future. And I finally broke the pattern. For 32 years, I was the one who got nothing and was expected to be grateful for it. The one who worked twice as hard for half the recognition. The one whose achievements were minimized and whose struggles were ignored. No more. I have something that's mine now. Something I built with my own hands, my own sweat, my own sacrifice. And I'm keeping it. Some people will call that selfish. Maybe it is. But I call it survival. I call it self-worth. I call it finally treating myself like I matter. My parents said they'd disown me if I didn't give up my house. I told them they'd already treated me like I don't matter. I was right. But now I know that I matter, at least to myself. And that's enough. TLDR, parents demanded I give my house to my divorced sister because she needs it more. I'm single and worked 10 years to buy it. They paid for her college, wedding, and car but gave me nothing. I refused, offered alternative help, was disowned. 6 months later, sister got a job and apartment using my help, and actually thanked me. Parents still won't speak to me. I'm at peace. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thank you to everyone who took the time to read and respond. To those asking, yes, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm living for myself instead of trying to earn approval that was never going to come. That's worth more than any relationship built on conditions and sacrifice. And to everyone who's in a similar situation, your achievements matter. Your sacrifices matter. You're allowed to keep what you've earned. You're allowed to say no. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you someone who finally realized their own worth. Posted from my house. My beautiful, hard-earned, 3-bedroom house. Here's what I learned about family. Some people will only see you as a resource. And when you refuse to be used, they'll call you selfish. I worked 60-hour weeks for 10 years to buy this house. She wants me to give it away because her marriage failed and she has nowhere to go. They paid for her college. They paid for her wedding. They paid for her car. They never gave me $1. Now they want my house too. My mother said, "You're single, you can rent." I'm single because I was busy working and saving while everyone else was living their lives. They told her she could move in next month. They promised her my house without even asking me. Like I don't exist. Like my life doesn't matter. She called me selfish. I saved for 10 years. I sacrificed everything. And I'm selfish for not giving it all away because she made bad choices. I told them, "You already treated me like I don't matter. You gave her everything and expected me to build myself from nothing. I did. This house is proof. And now you want to take that too. No. I won't set myself on fire to keep her warm." They wanted me to sacrifice my future for her present. I refused. Some people will call that selfish. I call it survival. I spent 32 years being the one who got nothing. I finally have something that's mine. And I'm keeping it.